Okay, welcome back, everyone listening or watching. Welcome to another episode of my podcast. So, I've been following this theme of leaders recently, leaders' life force, I'm calling it. And today I've got someone that you probably don't know about because she doesn't really exist online, right? Which is one thing I love about her. She's what's the word for it? She's an enigma, let's call it. So I've got Kiran here, Kiran Singh, and I'm just going to ask you to introduce yourself, right? And then maybe I'll say something about, how I know you, and then you can also share how we know each other as well.
Right. I'm Kiran. I am a coach. I'm a writer. I'm an energy worker. I'm an aspiring flower farmer and a whole bunch of other things. I also have a very corporate day job that is currently how I pay my bills.
Nice. And a lovely background as well, by the way, which I thought was a filter when I first joined.
It is.
Beautiful.
No.
Yeah, nice. Cool. So yeah, Kiran, I love that you say that you're a writer because I've always said when I've gotten a message from you or I've heard from you, I always say this thing, which you're probably sick of hearing. I
I'm
always say
not.
that since
I'm definitely
you're not,
not.
okay, cool. It
No.
just sounds like you got this poetic kind of way of putting things, right? Like I get drawn in to how you speak and how you write, and it literally feels like I can hear you and I can hear your excitement and your emotions moving through your words, right? And I don't think many people can do that, but I definitely sense that in you.
I love that. That's really, really cool. And I say I'm a writer. There's a lot of ways that I introduce myself that
Yeah.
um, are part of my dream for myself, that are
Mm.
becoming reality because I'm going to create them into reality. So today, a lot of my writing is journaling or writing other pieces, mainly for myself. But I don't know. I'm excited to see what kind of writer I'm going to become or continue
Yeah,
becoming.
yeah. Nice. Becoming. I love that word. And I
Yeah.
want you to introduce, I want you to introduce how this became, right? How did we even get to
Yeah.
know each other? People ask me things like, how do you know these people from different parts of the world? Like you're from Canada, obviously, I'm in the UK.
Yes.
How do we know each other? You can start by telling everyone listening, and then I'll
Oh,
add
I'd
to
love
that
to.
maybe.
Yeah. So I created that. I it would have been a couple of years ago I got introduced to the app Insight Timer, and I was in a space at that time. It was like peak COVID, and we've had a lot of lockdowns in the place that I live. I'm from Toronto, Canada, and in our province, I think they've said that it is the most continuous lockdowns over the overall COVID period. So there was a lot of quiet time.
Hmm.
And that worked out quite well for me. I was going through something. I was shedding a lot. I was confused a lot. I was in my inner world a lot. And I was also growing a lot and slowing down a lot and getting present to if I'm not actually interacting with the outside world and I'm still feeling all sorts of craziness and anxiety inside of me, then it can't be coming from outside. So, where is it coming from? It's coming from within. And Insight Timer turned out to be one of the places where there was community in a time of isolation. And it was other people talking about things that I was realizing I was deeply, deeply interested in. And so you were one of the people that would come on live, and I would find that I would tune in and I was interested. I have lived in the UK. I lived in London for a couple of years. So there was something that I was naturally drawn to in terms of your voice and like the way that you express. And then over time, there were so many different people that I would follow on Insight Timer, but over time it kind of gets whittled down to your favorites. And so, in terms of what I knew about you, I knew that you were a coach, and that turned out to be a really interesting thing to know when it got dropped into my consciousness from the universe that I should look at coach training. And so I thought, okay, I don't know what I would do that yet with that yet, but I do know a couple of coaches that I follow because I listen to them on an Insight Timer. And that's when I reached out, and that's what I created. I created I'm not even really sure why I'm reaching out, but I'm reaching out, and you remind me of a lot of aspects of me. And from there, we began exploring what it could look like to work together. And then we did. And in a time that was very transformative in a lot of like magical ways, working together and co-creating what we did was like, I don't know, it's hard to rank so many top experiences, but it was definitely one of them. So that's how we know each other.
Wow, I love that. Top experiences and ranking it. Wow, that's powerful. Thanks for
Mm-hmm.
sharing. When I look back at the journey we went on when I first met you and we were on Zoom, yeah, it's crazy that this whole thing happened, right? And we met, we started working together. And I remember one thing from I think the second or third chat that we had. There was two things going on actually, and I don't even know if I told you this, so this is exclusive right now.
Ooh.
Maybe I have, I don't know. But one thing that was going on for me was, okay, she's got an intense energy and personality and speaking, right? So my resistances were coming up in the sense of like, ooh, okay, what's she going to be like to work with? This might be challenging for me. What will this be like? And at the same time, the other thing that was coming up was, wow, there's so much creativity in the way she speaks and so much energy as well. So that definitely moved me forward. I was like, you know what? This is probably going to be really fun. This is going to be really fun to do because she's got something about her which both stirred up some of my own, stuff, and it stirred up some of the other stuff, which was like, okay, this is kind of cool.
Yeah. Was it as fun as you thought it could be?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think I said to you, I don't know if I said this to you, but I said something around the lines of, um, you're quite a challenging client. And I said that in a good way, right? You're quite a
I
challenging
loved
client.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, you're quite challenging because you bring something new to the table. You say what you don't really like. And I think that's such a quality that um, I think people are even looking for these days. They're looking for, can I really speak my truth, right? I've got someone in front of me who might feel like, I don't know if it felt like this to you, but someone in front of me that might feel like a strong character, or I don't know, something's there, right? But I'm going to say the truth. I'm going to say what I want. I'm going to be myself, right? So I always remember that because I was like, wow, this is like really, yeah, I just respected that a lot.
Wow. Thank you. I I'm it's like here's what I think how I want to build on that. It might have seemed, and maybe I'll just ask you,
Mm.
did you assume that I was someone who did that in all areas of my life?
Mm. Question. No, because I remember at one point you said, you know what, Raj? This is the container where I can be this. This is the
Yeah.
container where I can fully express, and a training ground or something along those lines. You said, right, it's a training
Yes.
for me to be this. And
Yes.
then what came through me was like, oh, so whatever is in the way here that I might be obstructing to put in the way, let's move that out of the way. because this is who she is. That's wanting to come out, right?
Yeah.
So
That's why I
yeah,
mentioned
to
that.
answer your question, I think initially, yes, I probably would have thought, okay, maybe she's just like this with everyone. Maybe she causes trouble in places. That was the idea that was going through my head. Maybe she's causing trouble and like stirring things up. And then I realized, no, this is just who she is, right? Coming out. And this is beautiful.
Yeah. So I am, most of the people around me would have like, slash, maybe this is my own story of myself, but I would have described myself as someone who is quite shy and
Mm, yeah,
not confident in a lot of situations. And so I'm
yeah,
actually becoming a disruptor.
yeah,
That's part of the template that I'm interested in moving towards, because there's been so much that I would have left unsaid, or so many yeses
mhm,
that actually were nos, or the other way around before, that I'm
yeah,
realizing, no, I'm not going to be able to do that anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. But having that container to actually build, as I say, the energetic template of me being able to do that, I needed to be able to do it with one person before I could do it with everyone.
yeah. I love that. Wow. And you know, when you say disruption, and let's talk about that actually, because I think people would find this really useful. I know for myself that there's been times where I've just gone along with things and I've said yes, even though I really inside didn't want to, right? Or I've said no just to be rebellious, you know?
Ah,
It's like either way, what's operating from that place? I don't think it's truth. I don't think it's a stability. I don't think it's a confidence, right? It's something else. It's some kind of fear of like either being rejected or being uh constricted, being constricted or being forced to do something or be a certain way. But you know what I've really grown into is this thing of wait, no, what in this centered place, in a place where there's truth, what if I just say what I want and I don't have to filter it out, right? I don't have to think, oh no, 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 because what if they say this and what I don't need to worry about that because if I'm in truth and it's not coming from a vicious place or you know what I mean, it's just truth. It's just this is what no, I'm not interested. If someone's asked me to come somewhere, sometimes I'd say, you know what, I'm not really interested in that kind of thing. We could do something like this. They're not interested. Oh, okay, fine. Where do we go from here? It's fine. We don't have to do anything. Or like even an example of where am I taking my life? What actions am I doing? Oh, let's check in here. And I always go here, right? Something points me towards my heart. Oh, wait, let's check in here. What feels like is calm that can give me a calm voice rather than in my head where it's like the noisy voice that wants to rebel or it wants to avoid getting rejected, right? No, let's go down here. Here it's all still and calm. So that's been my kind of experience. Like what comes up for you when I mention that?
yeah. Well, when you talk about, I'll use my words to talk about how I'm experiencing what you're saying. So when I'm hearing either the people pleasing voice in me or the rebellious voice in me, I've started to get really skilled at seeing that that is this inner 15-year-old in me that just wants to have freedom, do what she wants, stay safe, not feel so self-conscious all of the time. And I've got a newfound respect for when those voices come through, because now I
Mm,
can see them as the information that they are. When it's one or the other, when I'm going too far on one extreme or the other, and I know that I'm either I haven't slowed down enough to actually see like how am I interested in that invitation? Am I actually interested in it? Or do I just want to spend time with that person, but I definitely don't want to do what they're suggesting? And I'm
Mm,
willing to go with it just for the idea of spending a bit of time with them.
yeah.
There absolutely is an earlier version of me that would have jumped at that chance because, and I can see this now, I was thinking that if I don't say yes to this, I won't get invited to that thing that I really want,
Mm,
or I won't get my invitation accepted when I actually suggest a thing that I really want. And I don't know, life doesn't feel like that anymore. And
mm,
so I can see the information for what it is when I do slow down enough. And you're speaking a lot to your heart. I think, yeah, how do I hear mine? I get a lot of my own wisdom through voice, but also now being able to parse out the voice of that 15-year-old and the voice
mm,
of my truth has been a game changer.
mm. Yeah. So let me ask you this. This is where it gets interesting, right? This is what I notice when myself and others, you hear the voice, you feel it, it's going on, you know your truth, but then what about taking action on it, right? This is where it can be challenging. And I know it for myself. Like, let's say you wanted to, I don't know, leave a job, start a new job, or let's say you wanted to start some kind of new career, start something new, anything, right? And there has to be
Mm.
this moment of courageous action where you actually step into that voice of truth inside. How
Yeah.
has that showed up for you? Because I know we did some challenges and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
you're still living those kind of examples, right? Of like, okay, it's in here. How do I become this? How do I actually live this?
Yeah. The story that wants to be told first, and I will come to the question, but the story that wants to be told first
Yeah.
is I was just speaking about a challenge that we had done together that you had set. And I think this wants to be said most so much because it feels like a real meta moment where
Mm,
just yesterday, last night, I was coaching with a client on that sofa right behind me. A year later, roughly, from when we were coaching together, and the idea of rejection came up and how difficult that is. And then I'd shared with her that I had done a rejection challenge with the coach that I'd worked with. And I'd shared
yeah.
with her the example. I said, out of everything that we did together, the one that terrified me the most, and it was just for everyone else's listening pleasure, it was, Raj, you had put the idea in my head that someone had gone to McDonald's and asked for a sandwich for free. And there was
Yeah.
something about this that I was just like completely, like almost like revolted by, and at the same time intrigued by. And so I was like, oh, fuck, I have to do this, don't I? so, so I remember telling her that story. Um, I won't leave everyone a cliffhanger. I did do it.
Yeah.
I hated
Yeah.
every second of it. And they said no, or they said maybe they were just more confused more than anything, and I didn't have it in me to take action the second time, but I was like, I took
Yeah.
action the first
Yeah.
time, so forget it, we're good, we're done.
We're
But
done.
the beautiful part about that, the part that I hadn't expected, was what continues to unfold for me on that a year later, and for forever, for however long it needs to, is um, getting so present to how uncomfortable I am to ask for help and to look
Mm,
needy in front of people, to feel helpless to that degree. Being vulnerable is one thing, and even 5 years ago, like being vulnerable in workspaces or a space like this is
mm,
probably where I would have been like, no, 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 I'm way too shy. That's not who I
mm,
am. Um, but being needy, being helpless,
mm,
yeah, that's still something that, if you ask me, how am I taking action on that? It's from starting small. It's from acknowledging what my nervous system can appropriately hold capacity for. And then it's
Yeah.
like a partnership of me continuing to build the capacity of my nervous system through a lot of things like really prioritizing my physical health,
Mm.
different bodywork practitioners that I work with who specifically focus on the nervous system, uh, meditation, prioritizing, a lot of joy, a lot of play. But then realizing like the idea of me going from a 2 to a 10 overnight, I don't know that that's setting me up for success. I'm not sure that I'm looking for that kind of in all of the different ways that I'm taking action. It's not that
Mm.
important to me that everything looks like it is a 2 to a 10 overnight. I'm quite
Yeah.
excited about pushing things from a 2 to a 3 because there's a lot of things that I
Yeah.
am pushing from 2s to 3s to from 6s to 7s. Yeah.
Mm. I love that you describe it that way because sometimes there's this mentality of burn your bridges or, what's the phrase? Like just go for it, just jump off the cliff or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that can be useful also, but if the whole body and mind are completely not even getting close to doing that and it's shutting down, then how about we make it really simple, right? How about we do the three or the just the next step and see how that feels. This has been really effective even in like therapy settings, and there's a whole chain of
Yeah.
type of therapies of like doing this stuff like exposure therapy and exposure training, right? Because it seems to be helpful, right? To just try stuff out. And what I realize is when I get the evidence from the reality that it was okay, then there's just this feeling of like complete release. And then it's like, oh, if I can do this, I can do that now because I've got the real life proof. My body's gone through the whole process. So I love what you're saying about that, taking actions in little steps, right? And the thing is,
Mm.
like, people will ask me questions sometimes, and they'll say, "How did you do this?" or "How did you do that?" Even with the spiritual stuff, people will say to me, just yesterday, someone said to me, "Did you have one awakening moment where everything just changed, right?" And the same answer comes out. It's like same as like anything with me. It's been over time. It's been a continuous process over time, over years, right? And that doesn't mean it has to be this, oh my God, I've spent years doing all this stuff, then I'll be better. No, I honestly think that whatever people are challenged by or whatever they want to create in life, the combination of slow down, let's look inside, let's find, like you said, like using the body, I found that really useful, slowing my body down, being in meditation, putting good stuff into the body. And then now I've done the best on this side, I've optimized it. I still got to go do stuff, right? Still got to go live my life. Doesn't matter how effective it is here. It's helpful for the purpose of, okay, let's go and try this stuff out. Let's go and speak in front of a few people. Let's go and do these rejection challenges. So yeah, thanks for sharing.
Hmm. Actually, what you said right now, it reminded me of, it wasn't even that long ago. I think it was my favorite thing that I heard about meditation. And this might be even a famous quote. And if it is, then whomever it's meant to be attributed to, apologies. But like the reason we call meditation a practice is we are practicing for game day. The meditation itself is great, makes us feel good, but it is so that when we are in those big moments, when we are in our own personal final tournament moment, where it feels like
Mm,
that, where the stakes feel that high, that we've been doing the practice, that we can be like, okay, I know what to pull on here. I have the
mm,
templates. The energetic imprints are available to me. I have created them before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. For example, if I'm gonna go and speak in front of people, or I'm gonna go and to some event or whatever, all of those physical challenges still appear beforehand, right? Like maybe less so, maybe I can slow it down with things like breath and meditation or whatever. But I'm still experiencing the discomfort. Someone said this to me before. They were like, Raj, when you get up and speak, it's like you make this look easy and effortless. And I say, yeah, but beforehand, the same program is still in there of like, I'm not good at speaking. I'm rejected. I'm not meant to be here. All of that stuff's there. But then there's this, what's the word like? This stepping into it anyway, right? It's like, and then after a while, oh, I can use those practices of breath and presence and feel my body, and then I'm just there. And that's probably why
Mm.
she said it looks effortless, because after those few seconds, I'm there, right? I'm there, and here's the other thing I had to really work on. I'm there, and it's okay for me to be how I am. I think that's the biggest thing I was challenged by was the shame of it, right? Of like, I want to be this leader. I want to be this person that does stuff. But firstly, there's this discomfort beforehand. And then secondly, there was this feeling of if I'm in that place, something bad will happen. It's not going to feel nice. And do I deserve to be there? All that stuff. All those stories come up, right?
Oh, okay.
Did that come up with the cheeseburger part for you? I'm really curious because when you said that, you kind of threw me off because I didn't expect that to be the
Did
hardest
you
one.
not? I wouldn't have come up
No,
with that
I
on
thought
my
that
own. No,
I
no, no, no,
really
no.
didn't think it would have been the easiest. I thought it would be the easiest one because you don't know the people, right? I thought maybe
No,
like speaking to one of your friends would be harder.
and so that's what my when I was sharing that yesterday with a coaching client, that she was like, I think I wouldn't be that terrified about that because that's a stranger.
Yeah,
And she shared
yeah.
some other examples of like asking for favors. She's like, it's the favors
Mm,
from the people in my life that I know and I love. She's like, those, that's where she gets
mm,
really quiet. Um,
yeah.
no. So this, in this case, it was strangers as well as I'm sure there's probably, I do actually, I've started to tune into, I tend to avoid or push off asking for the favor. And an
Mm,
earlier version of me would have just not asked for the favor. And now
yeah,
when I see that that's happening, I have that little chat with myself and I get through it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What is that chat for you? Because like when I talk about leadership these days, I talk about it from this perspective of this the energy of a leader, right? Because I almost think that's for me anyway, maybe other people find it easier, but for me, it's like this precursor or this stepping into this energy, right? This life force, like I like talking about, stepping into the leader's life force, and then I'm on, right? I'm out of whatever I was in before, I'm on. So what is that for you? I know you're a leader as well, and you lead others as well. Do you think there's some kind of energy of a leader that you step into?
Wow. My instinct as you were saying this about myself
Mm,
is I don't think I'm stepping into it in that moment.
mm,
I think it is a stepping into when I wake up that day.
mm,
Because where I'm going to go with that is on the days that I'm stepping into the day in my
yeah,
leader's life force, everything I do that day is touched by the energy of my leadership energy. I'm going to go to the chiropractor later. She's going to see me show up that way. I'm not leading her. I'm going to
mm,
be on transit later. They're going to see me like that. I'm not leading anyone. But like
yeah,
every single thing I do, the way I made lunch for no one other than myself.
yeah,
And then other days, and this is where I've gotten really good at self-compassion. Other days, it's like, you know what? Leader energy is on three, is on
Yeah.
three right now. And that's fine. And some days that's intentional because today's not a day where I need to lead. And so let me reserve my
Mm.
energy a little. And other days
Yeah.
it's I do need to lead today. And I'm still feeling three. And that's where having a practice. And
Mm.
that's where also being now okay with, well, let's see what happens. Let's see if we can learn from this. Let's honestly see what happens. I think this.
Yeah.
This is what the day asks of me, I think. Let's see what happens. So I don't think
That.
it happens for me in stepping in like into a meeting. Maybe there are a couple of
Mm.
those ones where so I had a chat last week with someone brand new, and I probably did arrange my day in a way where I was going to be stepping into that energy as like
Mm.
a build up to having that chat.
Yeah.
So maybe that applies.
Yeah, I love what you're saying because it describes almost like a surrendering type of leading, right? It's like,
Mm,
hey, I don't need to control or manufacture anything. I'll be my best and then let's see what happens, right? And I think that's also very powerful, right? Letting go of the gas, just letting go in general. And as you
yeah.
say that, it reminds me that that's actually a huge part of this whole thing for me as well. It's like if I'm trying too hard, I was telling you about dance, right? I was going to these dance classes. If I'm trying hard, it doesn't work. And I see that formula with so many different areas. If I'm trying out of this idea that if I don't try, then something's not good, and it is scarcity driven in the end, right?
Mm.
And I realized like that kind of doing and controlling and what I might have called leading in the past isn't helpful. But when it's like, hey, let's let go, let's release, and then let's go forth, right? That feels free.
Oh yeah. I like that. I like that. And I think if I continue on with just thinking about where I was taking it in terms of, and then some days I'm like, okay, this today does call for like an 8 out of 10 leadership energy
Mm.
day. And I'm feeling on 5 or 6 right now.
Yeah.
Part of what has been like thrusting me forward in those moments is knowing that the leadership energy that the spaces, at least the corporate space that I'm in, needs more of that type of energy where we would align it to like the divine feminine, where we can
Mm.
receive, where we can or surrender, rather
Yeah.
than always needing to create. And maybe in the case of work, like always needing to have the answers, always needing to be the one with the
Mm.
strongest voice in the room. And for those
Yeah.
listening, like we're not talking about gender at all in this situation.
Mm.
We're talking about that balance of having the balance between the energies of creating and receiving.
Yeah.
And so it's been like that's for as long as I continue on in that space, that's how I want to lead.
Mm.
Because outside of that, it's the cost, as you were saying, will be too much. At that
Mm.
point, when I am leading in a way where this is the archetype of what I think the leader in a corporate space looks like,
Yeah.
then I am back to being that 15-year-old who's like, this is people pleasing. I'm doing what I
Yeah.
think I should do so that I can continue to make sure that I have a paycheck.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's part of the beauty of feeling like in my now very amazing 41 years, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not playing that game. I didn't
Yeah.
understand that I was playing that game, but now that I realize that there is a choice, and even in my unconsciousness, I was unconsciously making that choice. Now I won't consciously make that choice. That will cost too much.
Yeah. I love that. It's kind of like I kind of like bring it to the example of looking for the right answer in school, right? The exam answer. Oh, what's the answer? How is it meant to be? Right. And I remember actually one point you said to me when we were coaching, I always remember this, and I bring this up to certain people sometimes. I say, hey, like, there was this client I was working with called Kiran, and at some point she said to me, she's looking for the cheat codes. I remember this moment, right, where you were
Yeah.
just on and you were like, hey, man, like, I don't know if you said these exact words, but maybe I heard it in my head, right? Hey man, I hired you to give me the cheat codes, right? I don't know if you said
Yeah.
that, but that's probably how I interpret it. Hey man, this is why I hired you to give me all the cheat codes to tell me how to do this. How does it work? And I sat there, and I was like, I can give you some, but and I remember you getting frustrated. You were like, what are we doing here, right?
Yeah.
So I love that you're in this place where no, what cheat code, right? It's your cheat code. You run it however you want, right? And I know I've done that myself as well. I've looked at others and thought they have it figured out. Um, what's going on here? So yeah, it's a really interesting kind of paradigm that comes up, right? And I know I've seen it a lot when I talk to people. They'll say something like, "Yeah, what did you do? Tell me how to do it." Again, I can tell people, I can give them suggestions, I can give them exercises and practices and questions and stuff like that. It has to ultimately come from this place inside themselves, though, right? In the end, like it ended up doing after you said that to me, right? With you.
Mm, I remember that too. I'm not sure if it was the same session. It might have been, but
Yeah.
I also remember, this will connect. I remember early on when you were like, "Oh, you know, I'll call you out if it needed to be." And I was skeptical. I was like, "I don't think this dude is going to do any calling out. He seems way too like that is not his style." And I was thinking,
Yeah.
I think I'm going to get a lot from this, but I don't think I'm going to get that. And
Mm,
if it was that same conversation where I was getting very riled up, because let's say like we were maybe 6 sessions or so in,
mm,
and you don't say much. And
yeah.
me at that point had been totally ignorant to what a coach is,
Yeah.
intentionally deciding that I was just going to experience it and not knowing that a skilled, artful coach is not to give you answers. It's not to give you advice. Like that is not the role. That's not the currency.
Yeah.
That's not the value that they hold. Um, and so I got very riled up, and you called me out right there in that moment.
Yeah.
That was as firm as I saw you get, but you really like immediately were like, all right, hold on now. Like, let's just look at this. And I don't even remember what the words were, but you turned the mirror on and you were like, this is what's going on right now. And I will say, I rose to that occasion because I was like, holy shit, I am getting completely out of hand. And I'm not
Yeah.
actually like, none of this is rightfully directed at you. So, anyway, it opened up something cool. But I
Definitely.
share that because I was like, this guy, I don't think this guy does much calling out, but he does if needed.
Yeah. That's it, Someone said to me once, and they were like, Raj, you got this energy where you're caring but firm when needs to be, right? Like when it needs to be, when I feel it inside, I'm like, wait, something has to be said here because if I go into the role of no, let's please, and yeah, sure, yeah, let me give you what you want. when I know it's really not what you need, right? Not you, not anyone needs to be validated for that program that is searching for the thing that you think you don't have, right? Thing you
Yeah.
think you don't have. Maybe you've thought you haven't had it for your whole life. So let's continue this way. No, I'm going to come in there and put something right there so you're not going to access that ever again. Sorry, I'm here. That's what I'm here to do. That's why you hired me. So I can veer you away from that very directly, right? And I feel myself getting heated up as I say that. Passion's coming through.
Yeah. Yeah. My favorite collaborators, I have a lot of teachers in this space, and I think one
Yeah,
of them describes herself as like sweetness with a sword. And I
love
love
that.
that because I'm like, I want both. Depending on the
Yeah,
situation, you know,
exactly.
what's the medicine?
Mm,
There's no formula. It's responsive in the moment. It's dynamic.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow. Okay. So we've talked about a lot of cool stuff. I've only got a few more things to ask you, which would be exciting. Um, because I talk about life force a lot, right?
Mm.
So I want you to give me your definition of life force, right? Beyond anything you've ever heard. What do you feel right now? Even beyond what you've said yourself in the past about it. Right now, in this moment, what is life force?
Wow. I'm going to challenge myself to find new articulation. And for that, I might need to be quiet for a moment.
Yeah, sure.
I'm starting to really attune to how visual and how much imagery comes up for me sometimes when I'm searching for a word or someone's asking me a question. And the imagery that I'm getting right now is, first of all, I'm hearing like a lot of frequency. So the life force
Mm,
right now is running through very, very like intensely and with intention. And so the imagery it's like feeling Mother Earth right now. And it is feeling her right from her center. And that life force that comes up through her, through the beginning of it all, and comes through us and is sent through us. That's in this moment, that's what life force feels like to me.
mm.
It's that message from Mother Earth.
Something keeps flashing up as you're saying this. And even before you started speaking, right? What started flashing up for me was this lightning bolt, jagged lightning
Mm.
bolt, right? As soon as you started saying you're feeling a vibration, you're feeling energy, something started going on inside me. I'm like, lightning bolts, lightning bolts, lightning bolts. I love that. Mother Earth is powerful, you know. You know, the funny thing is, my whole thing is to try and make all of this stuff that might seem spiritual, not even spiritual anymore, and just make it, this is just normal. This is just true, right? And I say to people things like, there's a sun out there that we actually need to survive, right? There's no way to deny that. There's a sun out there that we need. And when I walk outside and I feel the sun, it feels quite nice. I'm feeling that in my body. So I like to say to people, this life force, like there's no way to live without it because the sun, the trees, the plants, us, we take in air. It's like this is it. If there's one thing that forms the basis of everything, think this is it. Everything that's alive is life force, right? Just connecting to that excites the hell out of me, right? Because I'm out of myself, out of me. Who's me when there's who is me when everything's alive, right? There is no me anymore.
Mm, love that. I love that. And I was the way that I was connecting to it was intellectually like, yes, I agree. And then also feeling like, how did you phrase it right now? You said, that life force is running through all of us and it's everywhere. And the words that popped up for me is, and I wouldn't want to try to exist without it. Like
Mm,
that's just coming back to that idea of it is so interconnected. It's just even trying to think about it as something separate
yeah,
is just not.
cool. All right, that might be a great place to leave the podcast today. Actually, here's a curveball question. If you were to
Ooh,
go to a desert island, you're
yes.
not going to know what I'm going to say.
Yeah, that's
Catch
fine.
the brain that might try to figure it out. If you're going to go to a desert island and you can choose only one practice that you could ever do, you're banned from every other practice that helps support your life force, that helps you become calm and enjoy. What's one thing that you would do, one practice that you can take with you?
So sorry, it's only one practice and no other life force generating
Everything else is banned.
practices. Got
Everything's
it.
banned. Like you could take a pen and a notepad, you can go and do some physical practice, breath, whatever, right? Meditate, whatever. Yeah, dance. You can only choose one.
Can what I'm coming to is I think for me it would be some kind of sound. So
Mm, love that.
whether I can take my own, you know what? This is it. It's being able to it's oming. It's oming.
Love that.
It's
Yeah, I
oming.
love
I
that.
don't need anything else. I need me and I
Yeah,
need
love that.
the breath to flow through me and to be omed.
Yeah, nice. Good choice. Good choice.
And there's my sound right there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Cool. All right. So let's leave the podcast there. Thank you for being a guest. And I'm sure if people are listening to this and really tuning into some of the stories, I'm sure they're going to connect, right? And everything you've been through, everything you've said. If anyone wants to connect with you, I can share some things in the comments where, you can give me some way that you want people to connect.
That'd be
And
great.
yeah, just thanks for coming on. It's really a fun conversation. It's always great to hear from like people that I've worked with and people that are doing great things in their lives, just to see like what's going on and like the amazing words and language that you can share with whoever's listening and me as well. I enjoy this stuff.
Mm.
So yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for being here.
Thanks for having me. As soon as you reached out, I was beyond excited. And I remember when you shared that you were starting a podcast, I had created my own intention. I said, oh, I want to collaborate with him one day. I would love that.
Nice.
And so for that to be in creation now, I'm really excited by that. And now I'm going to see what else, what's next on my list. But yeah, I look forward to seeing the next and the next and the next things that you create.
Cool. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Anyone that wants to share anything with Kiran or me, just send me a message, put it in the comments. Look out for the next episode. Having guests like this is really fun. So, yeah, awesome time.
Thank you.
Cool. All right, we'll leave it there.